Alright guys, ScriptTuber here with another video, and of course I have to review the final episode of the Acolyte. Of course, many things have been spoiled already on Twitter, but I don't have a full perspective. I haven't actually watched it yet, so let's watch this, and I will give you my takes. Just really quickly, I mentioned in my episode 7 review that there are just so many things left unexplained, and I just don't know how a 40-minute episode here is going to be able to manage to explain them all. I suspect they just won't explain them. But let's get into this and see what's going on. So we're saying that the helmet not only does it do all the other stuff, the cortosis, the disabling lightsabers, the apparently sensory deprivation, and then like ultra forceness. And even though he can still read other people's minds, they can't read his through the mask, whatever. And then now we're adding in visions when you put the mask on. Is a little weird, I guess, to me, just because, like, what if all of a sudden Darth Stranger guy, Darth Gimp, what if he was in the middle of a fight or something and then all of a sudden a vision came up? I don't know, whatever. It's just, I just want things to be explained a little bit. Like, you know, like, I like some mystery too, don't get me wrong, but hopefully there's some explanation as to this whole vision thing. Okay, so the vision that OSHA sees is May killing Sol. She has a lightsaber, but she doesn't use it, and then Qimir's like, this is what you saw, killing without a weapon. But why he acts kind of surprised by that. He's kind of like, oh, you saw killing without a weapon. But that was one of the tasks you gave May, was to kill without a weapon. So why are you acting all surprised? Like, his face is like kind of surprised by that. It's like, he almost looks surprised. Like, bro, you told her to do that. Okay, then there's like this weird, that was like this weird lines, like, where OSHA's like, oh, I'm gonna get to her and stop her from killing Sol, and then Gimp Mask is like, oh, well, how are you gonna get there? I'm taking my ship. And then she's like, well, I know where they are. And then he's like, I guess we're going together and we'll see who gets to them first. So they're still not together. They're acting kind of weird. Why wouldn't Gimp Mask just be like, no, man, I'm not taking you on my ship. F you, I'm going to go watch Sol die. Good. like, because clearly OSHA's still not, like, with him. That was just off. That was weird. Whatever. Okay, so then we cut to May and Sol back on the ship orbiting Brenock. So he exited Brenock just as Vestra arrived. Then he had the whole thing with May go down. Now he's got her strapped in. Instead of continuing to Coruscant, which is probably what he should do. This is a Jedi killer. Instead, now he's back at Brenock. And he's like, oh, we need to talk to Vestra. I'm like, why is this Vestra person... Like, wouldn't going back to Coruscant and being like, hi, Yoda. Just wanted to tell you, I apprehended the assassin that was killing Jedi. And so now, you know, and then Yoda would pat him on the head and say, good job, Sol. That's what Jedi do. You apprehended her. You didn't kill her. We can now, you know, work on her, get information out of her, hopefully, and find out what's really going on. This was a very good job. Peace won the day. You got her out of there. No, he goes back to Brenock. For no reason. Just so he can go get killed by May or something. That's what's going to happen. I can just feel it. So they're talking here, and she's accusing him of being a murderer, even though her mom turned into a big giant dust fart. And he was scared out of his mind, and May was disintegrating in front of him, so he's like, oh my gosh, I gotta save May, so he did whatever, he couldn't think of anything else to do, he stabbed the fart, and now May's all, like, May has absolutely no understanding of how that would have been a really weird situation for Sol, and freak him out, like, she's disintegrating in front of his very eyes. He's like, well, I gotta save this, so she's just, like, super mad, but, like, in a kind of, in not a fully justified way. Like, I could see her being mad to an extent, but to be this, like, no, it doesn't matter what you say, I don't care, and I don't care that I watched my mom turn into a fart, and I don't care that my mom was turning me into a fart, and that you felt like you need to protect me, I'm just gonna be mad, meh. And then what's even dumber is Sol leaves OSHA's droid in May's pocket, And now May is using it to get out of the cuffs on the bed. Why would you leave that in her pocket? Like, it's just... Everyone has to be stupid to move the plot along in this show. Yeah, and of course she stabs him. And he says to her, before she stabs him... So they have this conversation, and he's like... we did the right thing as Jedi, because she's like, oh, why didn't you tell OSHA? And you lied to her and said that I killed everybody. And I don't think that's exactly what he did. I don't think he just said May killed everybody. He just said that she started the fire and then left it open-ended that the witches just died in the fire or whatever, which, yeah, I mean, that's not good. I mean, he shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, like, she's a little kid. He's trying to protect her. I could see a reasonable amount of justification to withhold that information, at least for a time, until she was a bit older. Now, why he wouldn't have just told her that when she was older, maybe he didn't have access to her, whatever. But that's the only issue for me. I get it. You don't want to tell this kid that her mom and her other mom, her birth mother or whatever, started a fight, weaponized the witches, pulled out her staff to fight Torben, caused the whole conflict to begin with, put the spell on the Wookiee, which led to the Jedi protecting the Wookiee, which led to the witches dying. I could see why, if you're Sol, you're like, I don't know that I want to tell this little girl that all those witches died because they attacked us. And her mom, her birth mother, was responsible for that. I can totally get why he would want to wait to tell her that. So whatever. I mean, anyway, May electrocutes him with the droid thing that he for some unknown reason leaves in her pocket, and then she runs away. So then May uses the droid to open the door of the docking bay, I guess, of this smaller ship, and takes off. She tells Sol, I'll see you in hell, Jedi. He gets to the door right as she's leaving. And it's funny to me that a whole bunch of people on Twitter are like, she said, see you in hell. I'm like, dude, Han Solo said the same thing. Now, on a certain level, it's kind of corny that they're just rehashing lines to sort of draw emotion or attention to a certain thing. Like, but at the same time, it's been said before. I'm not going to freak out about it. Whatever. I'm sure that even in a galaxy far, far away, there's a certain degree of a possible afterlife, right? I'm sure they're not all just atheists. Well, they're not. We know they're not. So anyway. But again, Sol leaving that in her pocket was just so dumb. Gotta be dumb. So anyway, Sol goes after her in his ship. Or no, he breaks off into a smaller ship as well. So this ship's got like all types of gizmoids. And then we find out May's ship does not have a hyperdrive. The little one she's in. So she flies into the little asteroid field around the one planet, thinking Sol won't fly into it. And he just basically flies through it. And at this point, I'm not really sure what Sol's trying to accomplish. Like, is he just going to follow her till she stops, or is he going to shoot her down? I don't think he's going to shoot her, but no, he does. He puts on his targeting computer, so he's going to shoot her? There's no way. After all that, you're going to shoot her? I guess he has to. She's a murderer. And then for some reason, the little marsupial dude doesn't like what's going on. I guess he doesn't want him to shoot her. So he pulls some wiring out. Okay, so now the ship something's wrong with it, so he just sabotaged getting May back. Why would he do that? He was the guy that was supposed to sniff everything out, and he was trying to get their attention. I think he's the one who told Sol last episode who she was. So what is happening here? Anyway, so the creature sabotages everything, so May ends up gently crash landing on Brenock. Like, why did he do that? I don't understand. Then we're back to Coruscant now, and she has to talk to this senator guy now. So then this guy's saying he was trying to get an internal investigation done of the Jedi because he believes that, they're trying to control their emotions, and you can't do that, and at some point one of them's going to snap. And so Vestra you don't like me, Vestra, because I want to survey the Jedi. So this guy wanted to do an investigation before all these murders happened. He was just waiting for an excuse. And it just seems, again, super weird to me that there's all these characters that are just anti-Jedi, even though they've been living in 1,000 years of peace. This is a blip on the radar. Only Jedi died. And the Jedi just get no credit from anybody for 1,000 years of peace. He's like, oh, you guys are a cult, and you guys are this and that. It's like, bro, you've had peace your whole life because of them. If it wasn't for them, who knows what would be going on? Everyone's got this crappy attitude towards the Jedi. And again, it's weak writing because you could have made people have issues with the Jedi by writing something interesting, but they don't. It's just, no, I just don't like that they have power. I don't like their culty nature and that they have the power to deal with issues that are not good. And they've been doing it for 1,000 years and it's been peaceful, so I just don't like them. Like, there's no proper motivation for that. So then he does acknowledge that the rest of the Senate, most of the Senate, doesn't feel the way he does. And then he blames it on, like, hero worship or something. You know, maybe, buddy, maybe you're nuts, because maybe they're just happy that they've had peace for all this time. So they have no reason to be mad at the Jedi, maybe. Oh, this guy's a good actor, man. Why did they make him an idiot? This is stupid. Then he, like, warns her. He's like, the Chancellor is going to want to have a tribunal. You had better hope you have the suspect in custody by then. Bro, you're throwing threats at somebody that could just, like, if she wanted to, she could just force choke you to death any time. But she doesn't because she's a Jedi. Like, they're using their power for good. How do you not see that? Like, she could literally be like, bro, shut up, man, and fling him out a window if she wanted to. But she doesn't because she's a Jedi, because the Jedi are good. Then he obnoxiously says to her, may the Force be with you, and walks out of the room. What a corny, lame character. Alright, and then so despite the naked scene and everything else, OSHA tells Gimp that she doesn't want to be trained by him. And then you can see in his face, he's like, oh, I'll figure out a way to get in that. Oh, and I just wanted to say, so then she says, I'm not my sister. He's like, why, you wouldn't do that? And she's like, I'm not my sister. And then he's like, yeah, you're not. May made that deal without even thinking about it. And I forgot to mention earlier when Sol was talking to May, he told her that they're not even sisters. They were made by he was about to tell her they were made by the Force and dark magic and whatever. So technically, they're not even really sisters, actually, right? Technically. They are, but they aren't. Because they were made by the Force. And they are very different, obviously. And then they didn't look the same when they were kids, and now they look identical as adults. Man, the whole thing's a head scratcher. It's just weird. It's weird. And again, Sandberg is just making the same blank faces she makes every episode. There's so little range. Again, I'm not saying she's a bad actress necessarily, but it could very well be the director. Okay, okay. And there it is. They threw Plagueis in there. So I kind of had a feeling it would be Plagueis that they'd throw in here. I have some things to say about this. So let's just, and he's eavesdropping on them. Where have you been this whole time, bro? Here's the thing. So it's supposed to be the rule of two. So I guess Qimir's whole thing is to have an apprentice and then he's going to try and kill Plagueis because that's what they do. I always thought the rule of two thing was a little bit silly. So I just wanted to say something here about the age of Plagueis, because this has been a huge debate on Twitter. He looks super old here. There's no way he could be a young man and look like that, because the when you're tapping into the dark side, it slowly sort of turns you into this decrepit looking creature or person or alien or whatever. And even look at Qimir, right? He's definitely a Darksider. His master's a Sith. He's a Sith. And he doesn't even show really any signs of the physical toll that it takes on you. So it happens gradually as you get older. I know Anakin got the eyes and stuff pretty early on, but it happens over time or over incident, I guess. But he looks super old here. So according to sort of the accepted standard based on the Plagueis novel and legends in general, or the EU in general, he was born between 147 and 120 BBY. Some people claim that he was exactly born on a certain day, and some people don't, but there's a little bit of conflict. There's a few books that kind of, it's EU continuity is not as good as people think it is. There's a little bit of a gap there, so there is that 27-year gap. So what I said was, so Star Wars Theory and a lot of other people are saying he's 15 at this time. I was saying he could be upwards of 29, 30 based on this. Because I guess 100 years before the Rise of the Empire is 100 years before Revenge of the Sith, which puts it, like 89 BBY or something like that? So I guess they could be going with the 147 BBY birth, which would make him, whatever, like 50 or 60 in this. And the 120 BBY would make him only, like maybe 20 or something in this. 20 or 29 or whatever. I think that's where I got that original number. I'm still kind of puzzled as to the 15. I need more info on that. If you guys know, let me know in the comment section. I mean, if he is 15, or he's supposed to be 15, this is ridiculous. If he's older and he's like 50 or 60, it's possible he could look like this after, tapping into the dark side for a really long time. And then, of course, there's this argument that, well, Plagueis novels aren't canon and he can be any age that they want to make him. And the same thing they did with Ki-Adi-Mundi. And I don't think it's that huge of a deal. actually, and I've said that about Ki-Adi-Mundi, and I don't think it's that big of a deal here. But I can see why people are upset about it to the extent that you're using a character that was made in the EU. People are like, oh, who cares? It's not canon anyway. Well, hold on. You're using that character. Like, not using the novel's story about him, whether it be about his age or otherwise. It's kind of sleazy in a way. Because, again, Disney didn't create this character. So them changing it is kind of like a slap to the face. And in some ways, the Disney Star Wars fans, they're playing you, man. They're playing you for fools. Because you're sitting there defending their decisions, but they'll go ahead and use him, but then change it into what they want it to be. And they've been doing this the whole time. Sleazy, man. It's sleazy. Write something else. Make something else up on your own then if you don't want to use him the way he was written, right? Because you didn't make him up. So we're back to the Witch's Coven. No, maybe not. We're down somewhere. So Sol somehow managed to land. Okay. Why didn't he try and land near May? So Sol's going to go after May. I'm surprised he didn't lock up the hamster in a cage so he wouldn't wreck more stuff. And then Vestra is talking about she needs to send a message to somebody. I'm going to guess it's probably Yoda. But he's too busy, I guess. Like, Yoda never struck me as, like, too busy to... He was a very good communicator in the prequel trilogy. He was always available. In fact, communicating is his entire character in the first 6 films. That's what he is. He's communicating to Luke. He's communicating to... he was He led some worse stuff, but generally speaking, he was a communicator. I also want to mention, like, this set looks off to me. Like, this is supposed to be Coruscant. And I remember the Jedi Temple in the prequels and I've said this before about this show, like, everything seems so closed in. There's no, like, big shots of big, huge hallways and showing the just the size of the temple and the magnitude of it. It just everything feels closed in and small. And then the colors look off to me. Like in the prequels, it was very elegant, and there wasn't just like general stripes. Like this looks like a gaming chair. Like even her chair looks corny. It looks kind of cheap. It looks like an 80s sci-fi movie, which I guess Star Wars is, but it never looked like this. Like it just didn't. I don't know. If you're trying to base it on the prequels and base it on the way things looked and the way the set designs went there, and I know they were CGI, but this just doesn't look right at all. This looks like a random ship somewhere. Like, just weird. And again, these windows, whatever. It just looks cheap. I don't know where the $22 million per episode went. This looks super cheap. Yeah, I just realized that. Yeah, so he went back to Brenock to find her, and she's now back on Coruscant. Because they just didn't want to communicate where they were going and what they were doing. Like, he left Brenock right as she arrived. And then he went back and she had left. Like, pick up the phone. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, if I was going to meet a friend, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to give him a shout out. Hey, what's going on? Are you going to be there when I get there? Yes or no? Like, what? They have to be stupid. To move the plot along, the characters have to be stupid. It doesn't make any sense. He could have just sent a signal to her. Blah, blah, blah. No. Or before he left Brenock, he could have waited, because I think he knew they were coming. Anyway, they have to be stupid to move the plot along. Okay, now she's going to go back there, I guess. So we got we got Qimir and May. And this is Qimir's ship, but somehow May is... And he says something like all the way back home, and then OSHA shuts off all of his communications to her and his ability to fly the ship. Like, why is she in the driver's seat? She should be telling him, like, he's weird, this guy. Like, he was prepared to kill her and then not kill her, and then hang out with her for a while, pulled the mask off of her when she was panicking, and then now she's being a total jerk to him and running his show Girl Boss, and he's just, like, simping, I guess, now? Like, why aren't you flying the ship and she'll tell you where to go? Like, it's just so stupid. It's just weird. You're supposed to be a Sith Lord, or at least a Sith apprentice. You murdered, like, how many Jedi? You're like, what are you letting this OSHA chick just run you for? Say, look, he can't move his controls. He's like, what's going on, man? Hey, man, what's going on? So corny, dude. Oh, she got a life reading, did she? She scanned the planet and realized they're already there. Wow, who'd have thunk it? Maybe the Jedi should have done that. You know, fly above Brenock with your X-Wings and just go ahead and get a reading, and you'll, like Luke did on Dagobah, and you'll find life signs instead of being there for weeks on end and then finally seeing this gigantic structure on the top of a mountain that you somehow missed for reasons we can't explain. Why not just run a scan? And don't even waste your time going down until you know what the scan says. No! Only OSHA's smart enough to do that. The Jedi are dumb. Okay, so then Sol goes into the witch's tower place and he starts screaming, May! May! It's like, bro, she was trying to get away from you. She got on a ship, tried to escape from you. She's not coming when you call her name. If she ends up coming here when he calls her name, it's going to be totally stupid. So then they go to the front door, OSHA and Qimir, and she's like, this is the only way in unless you want to climb. But didn't we just see Sol go in? I guess he must have climbed? I guess he must have climbed. They just didn't show it this time. Okay, fair enough. And Qimir disappears. He says, are you sure to her? And then disappears. Sol's like walking around in there. Goes back to the bridge scene and thinks back with his memories. Why didn't I just lift both the girls up with the Force instead of trying to hold up the bridge that weighs 2 tons? I'm an idiot. Just because I have to be for the plot to move along. And now OSHA is trying to find Sol. What? She was trying to get away from him and now she's following him. Oh my word, dude. This is such a... I mean, May was trying to get away from him and now she's following him. Why did you run away for then? Same blank face. Every scene. Look, same stare. Same facial expression. Nothing ever changes. She's looking at her childhood home. That she doesn't cry or anything or show any emotion. Just blankly stares. Look, blank. Same face. Every single shot of either of the twins. And then OSHA's trying to jimmy rig the door. She gets the jimmy rig door done that the Wookiee had ripped out. Because for some reason the Jedi broke in an early episode when they didn't have to. They could have just knocked on the door. The witches were actually pretty chill. They talked to them and stuff at first. So it's just totally stupid and pointless. And Sol just keeps walking around, waiting to get attacked. Screaming out May's name. And then Qimir shows up. Oh, look, lightsabers cutting through giant metal. But they don't kill people, though. Reva's okay. Twice. And Sabine. Then we get some... Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Matrix-y stuff. Then we get some Matrix kicks. And here comes OSHA. They're back in their room. Okay, so she's acting not too bad here. We're starting to get some emotion. This is the first time. Credit where credit's due. She's tearing up a bit. There's legit acting going on here now. Finally, with 20 minutes left in the entire series. Okay, so then she explains that she didn't become a Jedi because... she had too much anger at May for causing all this. Even though ultimately they're all wrong. Like I said earlier, it wasn't Sol, and it wasn't really ultimately May, although she's a part of it. It was her mom, the birth mother, the Darth mom, is really super responsible. Anastasia is too for not saying anything. All she had to do is just say, take OSHA instead of letting it get all violent. That was super stupid, because again, everyone has to be stupid to keep the plot going. But ultimately, if it wasn't for Darth Mom busting out the arrows and like weaponizing all the witches, none of this happens. She's ultimately responsible, really, if you think about it. And then when she weaponized Chewie's uncle, still doing the blank stare again now. And then May says, "Oh, Sol killed our mother. I saw it with her own eyes." But of course, she leaves out the fact that all the witches had their weapons drawn to kill the Jedi. The Jedi in defense mode. Torben pulled his lightsaber out. Doesn't bring that up, and also doesn't bring up the fact that Anastasia her mother didn't just say something. She just turned into a black cloud, a demon cloud, had fangs, and then started disintegrating May, and it freaked. She leaves all the context out because, again, to move the plot along, we can't actually say what really happened. Which, this is not a good murder mystery. The good murder mystery is when you don't have to withhold information to have the plot move on, or you don't have to be stupid to have the plot move on. And notice, too, she leaves out Darth Mom. She doesn't mention the fact that Darth Mom pushed her down, told her to get angry, and then that led her to going and starting the fire. She leaves all of that out. So now what? We're going to see OSHA turn to the dark side because she's believing her sister's lies? I don't know. This whole thing is stupid. And they start having a fight. And the music is kind of weird for the fight. It's like Indiana Jones. Like, I don't know, whatever. It's just... And then OSHA says, Pip, her little droid, and then Pip squirts OSHA in the face. Like, that's the thing. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Like, you're in the middle of a sibling fight over something that's happened. Like, their whole life is based on this incident. And we're going to throw in another oil squirt in the face. I'm not the best at adding comedy in my writing, I'm not going to lie. But you don't put it in that situation. It's so weird to try and make something funny out of that. But anyways. Matrix. And then the music is like girls in the background going, "Dee-da-dee, ba-da-dee-da." It's like a chant. That's the music. Oh, she's getting mad. She's turning into May. She's getting mad. The other thing I would just say, like, Sol, like, can handle this guy pretty well. I know he's a master, but, like, he can handle this guy pretty good. He's with him. If this guy's just an apprentice and he's this powerful, what the heck's going on? Because now we know Plagueis is his master. But Sol's handling him pretty good. Why was he able to just mow down all those other Jedi so easily? I don't get it. Like, it's just... Like, I know they were knights, but, like, he's an apprentice, and he just, like... He chopped them up like they were, like his dinner. Like, it was nothing. And then he just saw Vernestra's ship arrive. So, like, it only took Vernestra, like, what, a couple hours to get there? And again, this is the Disney way. They shrink the galaxy. They don't have long periods of time or, like, scenes in the ship to make it feel like it goes longer, like you see in the OT and other stuff. No, you could go to... It's like going to your neighbor's house, man. Planet to planet. You can go to, like, 15 in one day. You could garage sale in space. You can go to different planets. Have a garage sale day with your family. Then the girls see Vernestra's ship. And now OSHA's kind of panicky. And then May takes off. Oh, we're going to headbutt the lightsaber. Here we go. The headbutt. No. He hasn't headbutt the lightsaber. He's pulling Sol's lightsaber into his helmet. He's going to disable his lightsaber. Nope. And then Sol chops his lightsaber up. And then lets him kind of just stand there and take his helmet off and like, dude, kill him. Why haven't you killed him yet? Kill him. Kill him? Why aren't you killing him? Doesn't make any sense. Why are you just standing there, Sol? You do this all the time. You had multiple opportunities to kill him in their last fight. He turned his back on you like 4 times. Of course, you stood there so long that now here comes May to stop you. Like, it's just, again, everybody has to be stupid to move the plot along. Everyone has to be stupid. And then May steals Sol's lightsaber in like this 2-second thing. After he just like handled a Sith Lord pretty much no problem. She's able somehow to just take his lightsaber. Okay, and then May throws the saber. And May's like, no, I'm not going to kill him. Okay, she wants him to confess. And she's all like, I want him to face the Republic and the Senate and everybody in the courts. He needs to pay for his crimes. And again, as the audience, you're watching going, he didn't do anything wrong. He literally did nothing wrong. Your stupid mom, Darth Mom, put a spell on the Wookiee. Whatever, Trinity's character stopped it, leading to them all dying. Your stupid mom didn't say anything and didn't say that they could take OSHA to just de-escalate the situation, just stood around like an idiot. And then your Darth Mom weaponized the witches, and it freaked everybody out. And then your dumb mom turned into a fart with fangs and started disintegrating you in front of him. And he was like, what am I supposed to do? So he stabbed her. Like, what? Like, he did nothing wrong. This show sucks. They're trying to convince us that he did something bad when he didn't. I did the right thing. You're darn right you did, Sol. He then says that they made them through the Force, that the same person just doubled. He tells her that. And then he says, if you're listening carefully, he says, and very few have been able to do this. So this goes back to my previous videos where I'm like, is it established that it never happened before Anakin? And now they're saying that it has happened now, I don't know, several times, multiple times. Who knows how many times? Again, I go back to it, though. It doesn't take it away from Anakin, for me at least, as much as other people. I still think it's stupid, but I don't think it takes away from Anakin because, again, Anakin was born by the Force itself. There was no dark magic. There was no spells. There was no stupidity. There was no practitioner, as Headland put it, that's using the Force to do it. He was just born straight up. So, in that sense, it doesn't take away from him, even though it's super corny and they're just trying to make these characters special just because, and that they're not. She's still making the same blank face. That never changes. Ah! Okay, and then May's like, you killed our mother. And again, you have to be stupid to move the plot along in the show. So instead of Sol being like, hey May, just listen to me for a second. Your other mom, Darth Mom, weaponized all of the witches. They were pointing arrows at us. They were going to kill us. And your mom turned into a fart with fangs and was disintegrating you in front of my face. So I did what I thought I needed to do to save you because you were literally evaporating. And I didn't know what was going on. I'm really sorry and I feel awful, but that's what happened. And your mom never said anything. And so it scared all of us. No, he just says, I did. Like if he had explained all that and then she still went after him, it wouldn't have worked, right? Because then it's like, well, she should at least think about it for a second. But no, they need her to just be mad and attack him. So he has to be stupid and just say, yep, I did, yep. He says, the only thing he says is, I was protecting you. I thought it was the right thing to do. Why don't you explain? Because now you're talking to OSHA, who wasn't there. So you could explain what happened and what the moms were doing. And they were instigating a lot of this and turning Wookiees into casted spell crazy guys. No! I was just protecting you. You give no context. But we have to have OSHA turn dark, so this is the only way they can think of doing it because the writing sucks. Okay, so then OSHA says, why didn't you tell the Jedi what happened? And then Sol's like, well, without May, there was no proof you were made in this way, like in the Virgins or whatever, so that's why they withheld the information. I go back to, I just thought it was better to just say, I don't want to tell you what your witch mums did. You were a little kid, I would have waited till you were older, so that's why I didn't tell you. But he never tells them what their moms did. He just leaves it. Their moms were idiots, and you don't even explain it to them. So then he says, I kept this from you, which he still hasn't given the context. But anyway, he says he didn't tell her because he wanted to give her the life. He knew she could have like a positive life. And right before our very eyes now, she's basically turning into May now. Because this dumb Jedi who has to be stupid didn't explain to her the context of what was going on. And then she just starts force choking him without even putting her hand out because she's so powerful. It's so dumb. He can handle Qimir, but he can't stop her from force choking him. I guess he just lets her do it. It's like the samurai. He's falling on his sword. Stop talking. She's turning into May now. And the same blank stare. The same blank stare. This isn't, like, compelling at all. Like, the backstory doesn't work. Like, it's just, everyone's just stupid. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Okay, this is super dumb. Wait. Same blank stare. And then I think he said, it's okay? While she's choking him? That's what it sounded like? Why does he have all this guilt? Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. He didn't do anything wrong, man. Okay, hurry up and just choke him and be done with it. I'm tired of watching this. Whatever. Okay, so she kills Sol. Yay. So, actually, what the only thing Sol did that was bad, actually, is not explaining the context, because now OSHA's going to go dark side, probably. Because he couldn't just tell her what actually happened. He just admitted that he killed her mom, even though he didn't give her any of the reason what was going on in the situation. And then May, who looks like OSHA, May also doesn't give OSHA the context, because she saw it all and saw what was happening, and yet was still dumb and blamed him anyway, even though whatever. So that's really the only bad thing Sol did, is he just didn't tell her the context, so now she's probably going to go dark, because everyone has to be stupid so the plot can keep going. And then May's all happy. Oh, she's my sister again. We're both dark. Okay, and then as she was turning... Oh! And then as she's, I guess, in her heart, turning to the dark side, her kyber crystal turns red. They call that bleeding the crystal, which is just... I've never agreed with that. You're talking about an element that gets energy if you spark it. You know, it's no different than elements we have on Earth, like lithium and things of that nature. Until the whole, like, Clone Wars and all that other stuff and whatever. I know it's in the EU too, which is stupid. It's like, you just figured, oh, well, Luke found a green kyber crystal. He didn't just sit down on the couch and turn his blue crystal to green. He found a green one because that it represented a next stage in his development. That's how you took it when you watched the OT as a kid, before you saw any of this other stuff. And now they're mood rings. They're literal mood rings. So what's going to happen if she's like, later on in this episode, she's like, you know what, I regret killing Sol and I need to go back to the light. Is it going to turn blue again? So dumb. And they just do it for the visual. They think it looks cool. Boy, she turned to the dark side quick. Like, even if she thought Sol did what he did, and he told her he thought he was protecting her, she was supposed to be pretty benevolent. Like, she showed no signs of anything. I mean, even with Qimir earlier in the episode, she's basically like treating him like an idiot and I want nothing to do with you. So you would think she would at the very least be maybe left conflicted, not just going dark that quickly. You know what I mean? By the end of the episode, okay, I'm kind of conflicted. This guy did do what he did to my mom and I don't know. And no, we got to make her go full-blown dark side in like 5 minutes. This is really stupid. Then Vestra arrives with a whole bunch of Jedi, and she does like a force sense thing to figure out where they are, and he senses Qimir. And then she goes, you're alive. So now we get, she must have known him from the past. Okay. And why do they keep bringing this hamster everywhere? All he does is cause problems. And then every time Vestra enters a doorway, she's just too cool to just push the buttons. She always has to use the Force, so even her Jedi buddy, pushed the buttons, but then she's like, oh, I can't wait for it with the buttons. I have to use the Force. She did it 3 times on Coruscant. It's like, dude, calm down. We don't need you to just constantly be using the Force for, needless crap. Just push the button. It's okay. Is it just me, or do they run kind of weird? The other thing, too, with May and OSHA being sort of Darksiders, I guess, now, you don't get that feeling from them. They kind of talk very normal. There's no screechiness. There's no physical anything. May should have some sort of physical thing that shows that she's been using the dark side for so long. They just seem like normal 20-year-old chicks. I don't know. It feels weird, man. Even Qimir, he at least kind of feels dark sidey at times when he's talking and stuff. But I don't know. It's weird. And then they go, and then they show Plagueis and he's completely decrepit and like he's been toying with the dark side for so long. I don't know. It's whatever. It's just kind of off-putting. Okay, so so they go into this tunnel, and then May's like, when I fell, I got sucked into this core tunnel, which is literally what happened to Luke on Cloud City. So they keep member burying to try and make us forget that the story is really nonsensical and dumb. But remember when Luke fell into the core tunnel, sucked him in on Hoth? Remember that? Vestra brought a platoon of Jedi here. And then Vestra does this again where, and Sol did it too earlier, where she stands there and can sense everything that went on. Literally everything that happened, the fighting, you hear the lightsaber sounds, you hear the lines of dialogue from the flashback. And I'm like, if this was a possibility, why didn't Yoda ever do stuff like this? He did sense stuff, you could sense when a bunch of people died or something. But this is kind of over the top, because you could just send a Jedi Master to anywhere in the galaxy where there's ever been any kind of conflict and find out exactly what happened just by sending them there, and they stand there for 2 minutes. It's a little too much, and again, I know they do stuff like this in the EU, and I know they do stuff like this in other things, and it's just too much. It's too easy, right? It just makes things too easy. If you can sense that, why are you searching for them? You should be able to sense where they are. She sends all the Jedi to go find them all. It's how could you not sense where they are? But you can see a memory from a place you weren't even there 16 years before, but you can't just sense where they are, and they're all Force sensitive. It doesn't make any sense. You can't sense that Qimir is watching you kiss Sol or whatever, look at him, and you can sense a thing from 16 years ago that you weren't even there. Again, it's just so inconsistent and dumb. Oh, she finally realizes he's there. Or is it, he has the Cortosis helmet on, so she can't. Oh my gosh, we're doing this sniffing thing again with this creature. Why can't they sense them? There's 50 Jedi, man. You should be able to sense where they are. At least to some degree. You've been doing that all show long with multiple different characters. No, we gotta bring the rat in again and have him guide us to them. Oh my gosh, it's the tree. Remember the tree where we were Force pushing around butterflies? And then they have this big sister moment where OSHA's I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And it's you still believe a lie. So the girls are going to are their relationship is they're coming together based on a lie now. Leslie, you said you had conflict with your sister. That's what this show's about. Is that what you want? You want to just come back together without one of you, whoever it is, not have, knowing the full context of what really went on. You want it to be based on a lie? Awesome. That's relationship building 101. There's a little bit of acting range again, finally. So then Qimir shows up, and he's like, if I can find you, so can the Jedi. Again! He just finds them, and this peak, era of the Jedi, they're running around with a literal squirrel sniffing out where these girls are, and one Sith apprentice is able to just find them in like 2 minutes. Oh, the Jedi look like morons in this show every single time they're on screen. And then Qimir and May convince OSHA not to tell the Jedi that Sol did whatever, out of context, what Sol did. And they're like, oh, they're going to kill you too if you tell them, because they're going to know how powerful you are. And it's like, again, totally out of context. Like, the reason they keep going after Qimir, although he goes after them, is he literally murdered 5 Jedi. The reason they're going after May is because she murdered a bunch of Jedi. Like, it's just, like, no one has the context of what actually is going on. Like, they're just like, they think we're stupid as the audience, and we're just going to believe this makes sense. Like, it's just... And then OSHA's like, I'll train with you. So she agrees to train with Qimir and send May back to the Jedi, and I guess try and dupe them into thinking she's OSHA, even though she still has the tattoo on her forehead. How come nobody's talked about that? Like, again, everyone has to be stupid for the plot to move along, and May is now full-on Darksider, agreeing to be trained by a Sith after like a 5-minute transition. Like, it's just, there's no character development at all in this show at all. It's awful. What? And then Qamir's like, I can wipe May's memory and remove any trace of you and me from her brain. And you're like, what? So the sisters finally get back together based on an out-of-context lie. And then May's like, yes, do it, wipe my mind. What? Why? Oh, because the Jedi are going to read my mind. They need a squirrel to find them. Read their minds. Give me a break. Like, nothing's consistent. And if you're Qimir, why wouldn't you just say, no, let's all just bounce. Let's all just leave. Like, he has no problem avoiding the Jedi, so he can just bring them with him and get out of there. They have a ship. Like, why are we supposed to believe that they're forced to send May back to decoy, OSHA for the Jedi? This doesn't make any sense. One last hug. Why are they doing this? It's just so they can have this emotional scene. It makes no sense. At least she's sort of acting now, though. I'll give her that. It only took 8 episodes, but there's a bit of acting going on finally. It's not just a total plank of wood the entire time. And then Qimir, in like a second, wipes her entire memory. And they're playing music, like, they're playing this, like, lovey music when May's getting her mind wiped and OSHA's joining a Sith Lord. Like, it should be, like dark music. Like, this isn't a good thing. But again, Leslie Headland, with her moral relativism, is trying to convince us that, oh, they're not really bad. So she's playing this, like, lovey-dovey music when something really bad is actually taking place. And I guess there's people that are manipulated by that, for sure. That's why they do it. So they arrest May. Wait, what? Wait a minute. So the Jedi just left? So they got May and just left? This is so confusing. So Vestra, again, can sense memories and stuff that she wasn't even there from 16 years ago, but didn't sense that Qimir and OSHA were there? And they just took May and left? Again, the Jedi, you have to be stupid to move the plot along. Wait, so he mind wiped her, but she remembers that a fire destroyed her home. So she remembers what? Whatever. Is it a mind wipe or isn't it? Oh, so she also conveniently believes or remembers Sol killing her mom, but again, leaves the context of the situation out. Because again, everybody has to be stupid for the plot to continue. And then Vestra. Oh my gosh, this show, dude. This show, oh my gosh. So then she tells May that Sol was a kind, wonderful man, her friend, that did a terrible thing. Even though she saw the whole vision of what happened, has the context, doesn't give the context. Again! This is so dumb! Okay, so Vestra is totally lying, because if she's now saying that Sol killed all the Jedi to cover up this story about these witches or whatever. But she would have also known how they died. Like, because if she saw the vision of what happened in the past, she certainly would have seen the vision of what happened when they went and saw the dead Jedi bodies. But they don't actually show her. There's no sound effects or anything, so she's willfully ignorant there, but then uses the Force to see what happened 16 years earlier, so she can now say that Sol was a rogue Jedi killing people. This was supposed to be her friend. This show is disgusting. This is a disgusting joke of a show. Again, moral relativism. The Jedi are liars, cheats. She's a total liar. This is awful. This is like the worst thing I've ever seen. So then they're like, well, where is Sol now? And she's like, his body was found dead on Brenock. I believe he took his own life. So she lies again. And then cremates him. What is she lying for? Like, Leslie Headland was all like, oh, this we're going to have a clear ending to this season. I wouldn't want to leave it open-ended. And I think she's leaving it, like, incredibly open-ended. She's literally doing the opposite thing that she said she was doing. So she's just lying. So Jedi are garbage, basically. Awesome. So basically, Vernestra's the character they're using to make the Jedi liars and cheats. And she's blaming Sol. She's letting him he's dead, so she's ruining his reputation now. After he's dead and was trying to do the right thing, and she knows that. So this is how Leslie Headland planned on setting up the Phantom Menace, that the Jedi are just liars and cheats and corrupt, even though there's 1,000 years of peace. And no, it wasn't just Palpatine, it was that the Jedi were corrupt and stupid, and so, you know, he was villainous, but really it was their fault. They're bad. They're bad. Okay, so Qimir was Vernestra's pupil before he turned evil. Well, I'm not surprised you turned evil, Vernestra. You're lying and throwing a dead man under the bus because you don't want to just admit and give context to what happened, that these witches were actually stupid and bad, and for some unknown reason you're protecting their reputation and smearing Sol. So that's the type of person you are? Why am I surprised that Qimir would go dark side? So she's stupid. This is the dumbest show in the history of television. Honest to goodness, this is totally stupid. Okay, and again, we have this scene with Qimir and OSHA, and the music that's playing is not villain music. It's just like, nah, 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 like almost lovey music. It's so backwards and weird. These are Sith. But Sith are actually kind of good, because we just ignore all the context of what happened with the Jedi, so really the Jedi are just as bad as long as we ignore the context. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh. And then OSHA and Gimp Mask hold hands. Ugh. So nothing was settled in this show. Of course, throw Yoda in there. Talk about what? So you're going to lie and not give the context? You're not going to say what actually happened? You're going to lie again? Why do you need to tell him? He can get that information from other people. Or are you going to tell him the truth? This is what I think is going to happen. She's going to tell him what actually happened. And now Yoda is going to be a piece of crap who covered it all up. Guaranteed. That is my prediction, because they're going to do a second season even though the show's losing money. We know that now. The numbers that came out. But they're going to make Yoda a piece of crap. And that's the ultra setup for the prequels. That Yoda knows that bad things have happened and knows that there's Sith out there, but he just doesn't tell anybody and lets it all happen. Book it. That's what it's going to be about. Welcome to the destruction of Star Wars. Welcome to the destruction of everything George Lucas created. I knew the show was going to ruin Phantom Menace, and it's done a fairly good job. And then that final scene, I will bet you dollars to donuts, because again, she doesn't need to have a private conversation with him if she's just going to run with the lie, because that's the information he's going to receive from the meeting and from the council and from whatever. So she's going to tell him what actually happened. And he's going to be okay with her throwing Sol under the bus and being okay with covering everything up. Unless Leslie's going to let her tell him the same thing she told everybody else, which just, I guess, be another runtime scene, which she's all about runtime scenes. But I'll bet you any money she's going to tell him what really happened, and he's going to go along with it to cover up everything. This is a really awful show. It's really stupid. OSHA turned way too quickly. There's no character development. You don't feel anything for any of these characters because you don't really know much about them. You know, Sol is dumb in this show. Everybody's stupid to move the plot along. Constant stupid decisions. There's no depth. When you leave out context between the characters, then there's no depth, right? There's no depth in their characters when they're on screen together, because all of them are believing lies. All of them are believing nonsense. So there's no, like, real connections. So then when they cry and there's this and there's that, you don't feel anything. Because as the audience, you know the truth that, no, this is what really happened, and this is what really happened here and here and here. And then, of course, at the end, having OSHA going full dark side mode and holding hands with Qimir. I guess they're going to have a little love fest after he killed all these people and everything. She just doesn't even care anymore. And the other thing, too, is she doesn't care that he killed all those other Jedi just because she believes Sol killed her mother. Well, what about the rest of the Jedi he murdered, man? What did they do wrong? So the whole thing is totally ridiculous. She turned on a dime, and this show is really, really bad. It is a very, 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 very bad show. Poorly written. Feel free to check out any of my other reviews of this show, each episode. If you like this content, please like, subscribe. Always helps the channel. Please leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And check out anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.